Next on the hit parade, Mother versus Mulholland Drive. Two movies that I think are actually good, genuinely good movies. Mother. Javier Bardem is a poet with writer's block. Jennifer Lawrence is his wife, and they live in a completely secluded house. Ed Harris and Michelle Pfeiffer come over for no particular reason. They are total dicks. Then their kids come over. One of them murders the other one, and then there's a funeral, and then everyone from the funeral comes back to their house. They make a fucking mess. Time passes. The guy wrote the book, the wife gets pregnant, and now it gets completely and totally nuts. People essentially follow the poet like he's a religion, and then they overwhelm the house with literally warring factions in combat while she gives birth. Then they kill the baby and eat it. Also, the furnace is probably alive, and the house burns down, and then it all starts over again.
Mulholland Drive. A wide-eyed would-be Hollywood starlet moves to Hollywood to try and make it, but upon moving into her aunt's apartment, she discovers a woman with amnesia, possibly hiding out from dangerous characters. The two of them go on a quest to discover the identity of the missing woman, only to find out that nothing is as it seems to be, and no one is who they seem to be. Good pairing.
Yeah, they're both crazy, and they're both really good. They're like well-made movies.
Yeah, they are. I mean, I definitely have a preference for what I'd like to watch. Again, what is it about Darren Aronofsky making films that I kind of never want to see again? But I'm glad I saw. I'll put that out there.
Yeah, everyone's doing really great work. All of the actors are really, really doing great work. And
really great work. You know, so as you were reading through the synopsis, I was reliving my experience of watching this movie, and this is Mother! The exclamation point. Mother! We have one with a question mark. This one has an exclamation point.
It's the police song.
So I was reliving my experience watching it, and it's like at least two different films. There is just this air of something being at unrest for the first, third to half of the movie in terms of how people react to the things that go on, people's interactions with each other. Our lead character is very much not okay. As crazy as the mood of the first third to two-thirds of the film is, the first third I would say is just that's what I was describing. The second is this sort of abstract, almost like borrowing from Buñuel, people in a house, no one's leaving, why aren't they leaving?
Why are you painting my house?
Well, it's been so kind to everyone, it's the least we could do.
Stop! Both of you, stop!
No problem.
Something is wrong, we don't know what it is, we don't know why it is, and then everything just goes bananas.
The thing that I think is kind of interesting is how Javier Bardem character sort of tries to mansplain everything through the whole thing. Like, Jennifer Lawrence is constantly like, this is insane. Like,
right.
They should go. They're not our friends. They shouldn't be here.
All these people.
I know, they're just letting off steam.
The fact that she is trying to say, no, this isn't normal,
right.
And he's trying to normalize stuff. The more he normalizes the craziness, the more the craziness escalates. And she ends up being like ultimately the victim of the whole thing in incredibly gory, gruesome awfulness. Ugh. Yeah, it's really, really terrible and very difficult to watch. And as a parabel.
I love her. She's wonderful.
As a parable, it's sort of interesting because he, as an artist, he craves the attention, so he brings it on himself, and he can't stop inviting more and more attention. Like, he's like, I need to be the center of the world. I need to be this thing, and he keeps bringing that adulation in on himself, and then it gets to be overwhelming, it spins out of control, and then all hell breaks loose.
Babies die. Mulholland Drive.
Yeah, another interesting movie about artists, but much more rooted it takes place in reality, sort of. Yeah. I mean, there's some real strangeness. Like, there's the when you were saying the foreboding feeling of things, I was like, oh, that's exactly what's going on in Mulholland Drive. In particular, like when the guy goes out to to behind the dumpster, and there's that creepy woman behind there.
Scared the hell
Which
out
is
of
like
me.
a terrifying moment, but there's like nothing like. It's just there's a woman behind the dumpster. That's kind of the scary
Did you think
conceit.
it was a woman? I didn't think it was a woman.
I think it's a woman. There's a person.
What do you think?
It's a person.
Yes, that whole scene, honestly, that whole monologue,
Yeah.
that actor who you went to college with,
Yeah.
gives and it sort of feels like a separate piece from the rest of the film.
It does, but it does come back. That location is important,
It
and they
does.
come back later. There's a lot of that self-reflexiveness
Certainly.
within it, and it feels more like a dream. The way you're like, oh, that kind of makes sense, but it doesn't quite add up in logical sense of a movie. It feels like the internal logic of a dream, which is why I
feel
kind
like-
of really like Mulholland Drive.
Also, so this is a David Lynch movie, and I feel like what David Lynch does really well is he takes a lot of time with characters who are not necessarily very important to the overall plot, but it adds to the atmosphere, it adds to the feeling, the emotion that the audience feels while watching it. So like the time that he takes while I don't know if he's a mafia guy or whatever, drinks
drink the coffee.
terrible coffee, the very long scene with
It's
the
supposed
cowboy.
to be good coffee, though. Like that's the whole.
Right,
They
it's
put all this
supposed to be
effort into
coffee.
and it's so terrible the guy can't drink it.
That's
Those details are really
talk about
beautiful.
a spit take. But, but yeah, I'm gonna argue for Mother on this one, and I'll tell you why. Because I think that as many questions as I had watching Mulholland Drive the first time I saw it, this wasn't my first watching, but as many questions as I had the first time, I was able to piece together my own reality of what had happened.
It's no longer your film.
With Mother, I mean, I had to like Wikipedia that shit. I was like, what did I just see? I mean, there were conclusions that I came to, and certainly like themes that were clear to me. But then I read things and went, oh, that weren't necessarily clear. Not necessarily because I missed something, but because there's so much noise, there's so much craziness that it was sort of tough to pick out what Aronofsky wanted us to see. For my experience anyway, it felt crazier.
I feel like I agree with you. I think that Mulholland Drive, it lives in its own dreamlike logic, and it's okay. And not for nothing, I think that David Lynch has done a huge, because we're probably gonna. I think we agree that Mother's a crazier movie. But what David Lynch has done with his career is he has taken over and over again dreams that are an internal reflection of what's going on inside our minds when we're least conscious, and he's put them at the forefront of his art in a way that other artists are not doing. So even if you watch like Twin Peaks, which is, you know, whatever, I think the reboot is more interesting than the original version, but in any event, the dreams in there are front and center. They're like, you know, like they'll come out and they'll be like, well, I had a dream that this happened, and then that bears a real impact on the story and the real events. Like, he's doing that over and over again in his career. I find it to be kind of an interesting thing that he's doing. In any event, because of that, I feel like it's less insane than Mother, which is fucking bananas.
Mother! Exclamation point.
Mother's movie
Wins. You can't handle the craziness in episode 14, Xanadu versus the Holy Mountain.